Sonali is a 35-year-old virgin.
This week on Celebrity Talk Show,
please welcome Lifetime Network's 5 Guys a Week's very own Sonali Chandra.
I still have my V card and I am damn proud of it. Us women, we can't win.
I think it's so important to know what you want.
You just do it. Like the Nike commercial, you just do it.
I really felt like you could see the chemistry through the screen.
Quite frankly, I needed all that alcohol to kiss Eric.
I'm curious to know how difficult that was to have to get to know them so quickly.
I'm just gonna say it. I do experience sexual. He's not a man, he's a coward. I found out in January. Brittany, I cried my eyes out.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Celebrity Talk Show. I'm your host Brittany Saralynn, and today we have a very special guest in our virtual studio. But before we jump into that, if you're not already subscribed, please take a moment to hit that red button and subscribe to Celebrity Talk Show's YouTube channel. We have great content and giveaways on the way for all of you, and you don't want to miss it. Also, I wanted to share with you all the scripture for the day. Today it comes from Deuteronomy 28. And if you faithfully obey the voice of the Lord your God, being careful to do all his commandments that I have commanded you today, the Lord your God will set you high above all the nations of the earth, and all these blessings shall come upon you and overtake you. Today and every day at Celebrity, we hope you remember that when no one else is watching, he always is. And so we hope you do your best to follow his commandments. But also remember, we all fall short. Mistakes are a part of life. There is no perfect person on this earth, but he's there to forgive us time and time again. All right, you guys, let's get into today's episode. So when it comes to finding that perfect mate, there are many things that may play a factor in one's selection process. And for a small percentage of people, there's one thing in particular that could make the process even harder. My guest today knows that all too well, and I was so excited to interview her because we actually have a lot in common. Please welcome Lifetime Network's 5 Guys a Week's very own Sonali Chandra. Thank you so very much for joining me today, Sonali. I am so excited to have you.
Thank you for having me, Brittany. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you. I am so excited too. I really appreciate you taking the time to sit with us today. Okay, so I want everyone to hear me good. Sonali is a 35-year-old virgin. So Sonali, before we get into this very interesting Lifetime show that you're featured on, let's learn a little bit more about you. So I tend to believe that a large part of who people become and develop into tends to be somewhat based on how they were raised and essentially their environment growing up. So please tell everyone a little bit about your background. What was your childhood like, and how did your raising and lifestyle growing up play a part in your choice of celibacy?
So, Brittany, let me tell you, let me start off by saying I need to politely and sweetly correct you.
Okay.
I am not 35 years old. Oh. I am 35 years young.
There you go. Yes, 35 years young. Absolutely.
So 35 year young, a virgin, yes, I still have my V card and I am damn proud of it, okay, let me tell you. I haven't had to worry about an STD, a UTI, or an accidental pregnancy, right?
Absolutely.
So there you go. Regarding how I got to be this way, it really does stem from my childhood and my upbringing. So I was born and raised in America, in New Jersey, to immigrant parents from India, from the opposite side of the world. They came to America for a better life. That's where my sister and I were born and raised. Growing up, my well-intentioned parents, they meant well. They put us in Indian classical dance and our singing lessons. I watched Bollywood movies. We ate the Indian food at home, Bollywood, Indian fashion, all that great stuff.
Okay.
But on the flip side, my parents wanted to make sure they instilled traditional Indian values in me.
Okay.
The serious stuff included no dating.
Yes.
No dating boys, to be specific. No dating boys, no sleepovers, no socializing, no prom.
Wow.
I did not even dorm in college. Both my parents are, they've been married 39 years, I'm 35 now. But I just want to, and I'm not trying to denigrate the Indian culture at all, but I'm just going to be very blunt about it. Indian culture is very patriarchal. So my father was the breadwinner growing up, and he pretty much called the shots. Okay. So with that said, when it came time to college dorming, my father, he said that at the time he said that with room and board, I'm going to be on my own financially. He'll help me out with tuition because it's education. Mm-hmm. But if I wanted to dorm on campus, and I went to Rutgers University, which was only a half hour drive from home. But he said if I dormed on campus, I was going to be on my own financially. But, I got scared. I'm like, I don't want to be buried in student loans. So I opted to commute from home. Now, that was my understanding back then. As I got older, I realized my father had another reason as to why he did not want me dorming on campus. Because what happens on college campuses? Hanky-panky.
Absolutely. A lot of sex. For sure.
And my father was trying to protect me from all that. So that was my upbringing growing up. That was how I, another thing, I had glasses and braces growing up. So even like in high school and public school, what guy was even going to look at me, right? I was a geek, in many ways I still am a geek. I just don't have glasses and braces anymore. So yeah, that was my life up until I was 22. I graduated with a finance degree from Rutgers University. I started my career off on Wall Street. So with all that said, get this, Brittany. On the way home from the graduation ceremony, my whole family was in the car. My father starts brainwashing me and pressuring me to agree to an arranged marriage. That still happens in my culture.
Wow.
And that, for audiences who don't know exactly what that is when your folks choose who you're going to be marrying. That's how my parents got married. Yes, they've been married 39 years, but and again, with all due respect to my folks, to my culture, arranged marriage to me is just gross. Yeah. It's disgusting. It's even in my parents' marriage, I don't see any real passion. I've never seen them hold hands or kiss or or anything like that. I don't frankly know how they made my sister and I. Right. My parents never talked to me about sex. I learned about sex from health class.
So I know that many of our viewers probably already know this, but when I read your story, Sonali, I was so very excited to interview you. Your story resonated with me so much because I too was a virgin until I was married, and I truly believe that it was the best decision I could have made as a woman in the area of dating and marriage and things like that. I'm so proud of the fact I would never regret the decision, and I really, really wish more people would take this route. That being said, as rewarding as it is, I know all of the emotions, all of the stressors that you went through. I didn't experience the ghosting that you speak about. My experience was always just guys feeling like they were going to be the one to get me to change my mind. And that can be extremely frustrating. It's a lot of pressure and it's just not enjoyable. I know everything that comes with it, and I already know how it can make dating feel so very hard, almost impossible, especially when you think you've met an amazing guy and the second you come out with that information, it's like they just can't handle it. So I know that you were speaking on your personal experience with dating. I know that had to be extremely difficult in such a sex-driven environment.
I didn't start dating till I was 23, 24-ish. In my generation, what happens? Instant gratification, absolutely, casual sex, whatever, anything goes, right? Yeah. All that grossed me out. It's just the way I was raised so conservatively, especially watching the Bollywood movies where romance happens first. Back in the 90s, they never even showed kissing on camera. It was just holding hands at the most, and then intimacy, physical intimacy, sex happened after marriage. All these thoughts and these standards in my head. I've always found dating difficult, men would just want to have sex on the first date, or even like a kiss. Let me tell you, even to this day, you mentioned 5 guys a week. I only kissed one guy, right, and he's the guy I picked. That tells the audiences something about my standards and my values. Because going into it, let me tell you, I was scared I'd have to kiss all 5 guys, and I'm like, that's so I'm such a germaphobe. Right. Seriously, I'm like, I have to scrub my lips. My lipstick's gonna get ruined. This is what was going through my head, But seriously though, I catch feelings very quickly. That singer, Katy Perry, made that song, "One kiss is all it takes to fall in love with me." Right. I, in turn, say, I fall in love with just one kiss. I just, so anyway, long story short, dating has been very difficult over the past 13, years since I graduated college. Men just want, casual sex, one-night stands, hookups. I'm not about that at all. Mm-hmm. And so fast forward to present day, 35 and still a virgin, and it's been the story of my life. It's been the same thing over and over again. I will say this, I'm not interested in Indian men anymore, or even South Asian men. Audiences can't say it's discrimination because I too am of South Asian descent, so I can say that of my own people. Right. Before 5 guys a week, I only dated about 9 guys or so, and 3 of them were of Indian descent. Those were the 3 serious heartbreaks I had, and each guy ghosted me and vanished from my life because they found out I was a virgin. And then get this, Brittany. Remember the whole arranged marriage thing that I've been fighting for over a decade?
Yes.
Those three Indian men, they then entered into arranged marriages to please their parents and societal expectations. I'm like, well, why couldn't they have done the whole arranged marriage thing with me? You know,
right,
we were
exactly. That is, wow.
So I know it's not good to generalize. I'm not being discriminatory, but when you've had a negative experience with something, I won't say someone, but something, or let's say someone, you just want to stay away from it going forward. Why would I want to put myself through that same hurt over and over again? So I'm done with Indian men. I'm done with South Asian men. It's just, I've just had a negative experience. Oh, and then I mentioned earlier that Indian culture is very patriarchal, very male dominated. I'm not going to stand for that. I'm an American-born career woman. I need a man who's going to respect me and treat me like a queen, and I just haven't found that from the men in my own culture. So that's on a serious note. I do stand-up comedy. On the flip side, I will say this about South Asian men: they're not as tall as me. I'm 5'8". I'm an unusually tall Indian girl, so that's kind of a huge physical problem.
So it's funny you mentioned your comedy, Sonali, because I was just about to get to that. I heard that you are a comedian and that you've been able to work your virginity journey into your bit.
Absolutely, yes. Stand-up comedy kind of happened by accident. It just sort of fell into my lap, really, for lack of a better way of saying it. I realized comedy is it's putting your hardships in a positive spin. That's what my comedy coach taught me. Yeah. And being ghosted over and over again, having one heartbreak after another. I've been on an emotional roller coaster. It hasn't been easy. I've cried tears of loneliness. Even with Eric from 5 Guys a Week, I cried over him after he disappeared, and I realized his true colors off camera. And I was just sick and tired of being lonely. I still am. In fact, I actually hate this time of year. Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, blah, blah, because it's all about family and friends, and a singleton like me, I don't have any of that, unfortunately. And so I actually hate this time of year. But yeah, going back to your question, I've learned to weave my my dating dilemmas, if you will, into creating funny stories about it. And I poke fun at myself on stage in front of a live audience. Wow. And it's been I gotta say, it's been quite a thrilling and cathartic journey, because by owning my truth, and just putting it out there and not caring what people think, not being subject to their judgment or teasing, it's very empowering. And I'm at a point in my life where it is what it is. This is me. Take it or leave it. Okay. So yeah.
I absolutely love that. I love when people can take parts of their journey and incorporate them into positive areas of their lives.
And something, Brittany, and no judgment against other women at all, to each their own. Yes. But you and I have similar values, no sex before marriage, abstinence, all that stuff. But then society, growing up for me at least, I can only talk about my experience. People like me are usually teased and ostracized. I was a geek growing up. I wasn't invited to parties. I didn't go to prom. People knew I wasn't allowed to have a boyfriend. I went to public school. I was teased, for being the only Indian. That was my upbringing. But then as I got older, I realized society has a derogatory term for women who do lead promiscuous lifestyles. And I'm not going to mention what that term is. We're all adults here. We're all smart. Right. But what I'm trying to say is, us women, we can't win. Yes. It's either one extreme or the other, and I think that's quite unfortunate. To each their own. Respect, people for their choices, whether they, have a lot of partners or not.
Absolutely, and that's what I would try to get so many people. We live, like you said, in this society that's so instant gratification, like you said, it's driven by primal urges. Everybody wants to jump straight into bed before you know somebody's last name.
I've given up. I'm done. Look, I'm 35. I'll be 36 next month. In fact, I'll be 36 years young, and I'm damn proud if I'll still be a virgin at that point.
Absolutely.
I'm at a point where I'm done playing games. I don't want to spend my, keep going through the same thing over and over again. It is overwhelming, it's stressful, it's exhausting and frustrating. Why would I subject myself to that over and over again? I've given up. My story's out there. My truth is out there. If any guy's interested, they can contact me. That's the way I fight. That's the way I look at it.
Well, guys, you heard it. If you're interested, because I don't want Sonali to give up. So if you're interested in reaching out to her, I hope you all contact her today, immediately. So now you decided to put yourself out there and become a leading lady on Lifetime Network's 5 Guys a Week.
This is a really, really interesting show to me. It reminds me of a mixture between extreme speed dating and The Bachelorette. I mean, it really was. Yes.
With this show, you get to move 5 guys into your personal home and live with them for 1 week. Please tell us what that experience was like.
Surreal, unbelievable. Really, like, I had never done anything like that off camera. You know, I shared with you how I was raised in such a conservative manner. Before 5 Guys a Week, I had never lived with 1 guy, let alone 5 guys. And, you know, and also I never dated 5 guys at once. I'm a one-man woman. I can only handle 1 man at a time, you know? Just absolutely. So then to do the complete opposite on camera, like, it was very surreal. But I applied to it for genuine reasons. A lot of people, you know, the general audience, like, stereotype is that people like that only are on it for the fame. It's not like that at all. It's not easy to get on a show like that. It's a rigorous process. But for me, like, I did it for genuine purposes to find love, because nothing else worked for me. Like I said, I've never wanted an arranged marriage. Conventional dating methods hadn't worked for me. Still don't work for me. So I'm like, I need a new strategy to find love. And so for me, that was my intention going into it. Now, did I know at the time I wouldn't be with the guy? Spoiler alert, I would be with the guy I picked. No, but it was quite an experience. Our phones were taken away, as is the case in reality TV filming, because producers want you to just immerse yourself in the experience. And I gotta say, it was very de-stressing to get my phone confiscated, because I didn't have to, like, and that's another thing, I didn't know anything about the guys. When I applied to the show and was going through the casting and auditioning process, casting and the production team, they had asked me what I was looking for in my dream man. So I filled out a questionnaire of the characteristics I was looking for. But I didn't know anything about the guys. You know, like how old they were, you know, what ethnicity. All I did say was, "Are you ready?" And this should not come as a surprise. Do not give me any Indian men.
That was the one stipulation.
No Indian men and no smokers, because I can't imagine kissing a smoker. And again, audiences could not have said that it's discrimination, because I too am of Indian descent. So yeah, I didn't know anything about any of the guys until I met them for the first time when they were each moving in on camera. And it was a wonderful experience. I gotta say, like, to be in power, to be in control. You know what? Lifetime Network, it's a woman-centric television station. Okay, and the show itself is also about woman empowerment. The woman calls the shots. It's a 20-episode show. Each episode has 1 leading lady who lives with and dates 5 guys simultaneously. And as the week progresses, she kicks out 1 guy at a time. And at the end of the week, she picks a winner. And I did that, and it was wonderful. I got to call the shots, and also on a really, really deep, personal, intimate level. You know, I mentioned the Indian culture earlier, and all the women in my lineage, my mother, my grandmothers, aunts, you know, none of them, everyone had arranged marriages, and the woman didn't have any say in their spouse, you know, and I was there really to break tradition. I wanted to have a say in who I ended up with, and the love of my life, and the guy I was going to marry, you know. And so that's really what appealed to me about 5 Guys a Week, as opposed to all these other dating shows out there, you know. In fact, you mentioned The Bachelorette earlier. I actually applied to The Bachelor 3 times in 2019, 2020, and 2021, and I did not get picked, obviously. And I gotta say, Brittany, it was a blessing. You know, I think to get married, to be in a long-term relationship, you have to know who you are. You have to be emotionally and financially stable. You know, shows like The Bachelor and a lot of other reality TV dating shows out there, they have all these 20-year-olds who are still learning about themselves and are still not financially stable because their careers are still, you know, being established. And I just don't understand how, you know, like, such shows can cast only 20-year-olds. So really, I gotta say, you know, I do truly believe everything happens for a reason, and it's really a blessing that I was cast as one of the leading ladies for 5 Guys a Week, because I got to call the shots, and I got to decide who stayed and who went, and I was able to declare what I wanted, what I was looking for in a man, and yeah, it was a wonderful experience. Also, there was a lot of alcohol on set, as is the norm in reality TV filming. And I say that with great thrill because, quite frankly, I needed all that alcohol to kiss Eric.
All right, you guys, that was just part 1, but there's so much more to come in the next episode. Learn all about Sonali's journey on 5 Guys a Week, what really happened between her and the man she chose, and what's next for her journey. Make sure you all come back and check out part 2. We also want to know your opinion about today's episode, so be sure to leave it in the comments.
We thank you all so very much as well for joining us for this episode of CeleBritty, and we'll see you all next time.
Next time on CeleBritty.
I'm just gonna say it. I do experience sexual. He's not a man. He's a coward.
I think it's so important to know what you want.
You just do it. Like the Nike commercial, you just do it.
I really felt like you could see the chemistry through the screen. How do you use your platform and your story to inspire others?
After we wrapped, our mics were taken off, the cameras are turned off. He just turned into a different person. I found out in January. Brittany, I cried my eyes out.
Make sure you're subscribed and that your post notifications are on.